Okay, mic check, 1 2 1 2, mic check. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2, mic check. Welcome everyone to the Pro Trade Room Plus and the CPI report. My name is Lee Goldstein, the Trading Director at 10 Minute Trades. Please remember I'm not a financial advisor. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so please trade carefully. And let's get started. Okay, let me know for sure that you can all hear me. Good morning. So just give me a heads up that you can hear fine and see the charts, and we'll get started. So don't forget, this is a event where the margins are raised. So if you're trading in a cash account, margins are higher. So it means that you have to have more cash in the account to trade the various instruments. Now, I would say also that any time that we're trading a report where the margins are raised, it means the brokers are really believing that this is going to be a high volatility report. It creates extra risk, and we know it is a high volatility report, and we know it is one of those reports with extra risk. So you just have to keep all those factors in mind when you decide exactly how you want to trade the report. So just remember that this is without a doubt a high risk report. It's a high risk event to trade. Okay? I would say probably the markets are waiting for this data. They're looking for it. You could see because, the first thing you look at is you can see the bonds. You could see that they're very close to the highs and the lows. There hasn't been a tremendous amount of movement since last night because this is a very important report that the markets are definitely waiting for. There's no question. All right, so the DMM is quite simple on this report. And it is a report, CPI. I don't have to stress that it's been incredibly inconsistent over the years because read the DMM. multiple different approaches, different tests. Uh, we've tried it GC, and we've tried the euro, and we've had the ES, and we've done gold. If we go and look at some of the videos, which we will look at some of the videos, we've had the YM. You'll see that there are a lot of different setups because this report very often responds differently each month. You might get a couple of months in a row that you get the ZN or ZF, that it's very consistent for a couple of months, and then it'll change, and there'll be a different kind of reaction. So, and also, this is a report that sometimes it trades on a Thursday. When it trades on a Thursday, that means it's trading with unemployment claims, and that changes the tenor of the move because unemployment claims are important on their own as well. So this week we have PPI with unemployment rather than CPI. So these are just issues that make this report, without question, it becomes riskier, more volatile, harder to count on, as a report that you're really going to trust for lots of contracts. It's definitely not the way to trade this report. You probably don't want to take that much risk on it because we don't know if it's going to be a breakout for all. When I say breakout for all, sometimes you get a move where every instrument would have been a fantastic breakout. Let's look at a couple of videos. We just have a very simple bond setup, and you could use ZF. If you want to use ZN, I would use a smaller stop. I'd probably go to 12 on the stop. But let me show you what happened last month. And I did some testing of the YM, and the YM, yes, it can really move. I mean, it can move hundreds of ticks, but it does have, sometimes it does some whipping around. It's not an easy instrument to trade on this report. So last month, you can see our DMM did have the YM on it. So this was August. And that was ZF on the left, and I was watching gold on the right. ZF did work in our cash account, and gold, I was just simming gold. Over the years, gold has been the most common instrument we've traded on this report, but it has gotten difficult to trade on this report. I did do a YM test for last month. Let me see if, let's see what it looked like. So this was the YM on replay in August. And it was such a fast move that replay couldn't even replay it properly. And that just tells you that it possibly could have been such a fast move that it may not have worked for everyone, that it probably had liquidity problems. So that was a very difficult YM. Also somewhat difficult in June, and that's why we're not really recommending the YM. Yes, it can work if there is a everything breaks out today, but it can often really whip And again, this is a report. You have to think very hard about whether you want to trade it exactly at the time of the news. You might want to look at a move after the news. It's possible. How about before we start, everybody checks their time sync? Let's get our time in sync. So we'll go to the website time.is. So I've been experimenting. I used to use the regular Opera, which I like a lot as a browser, and it stopped streaming the trade room charts. I have not been able to use Opera in the trade room. It stopped streaming the charts. Not really sure why. It just did. I've tried to get help online and all sorts of forums. Nobody seems to know why. I've tried different versions, different computers. It's not just one computer, different everything that I could think of. I just can't get it to work. So I've been trying. Then all of a sudden, Opera started freezing last week. It just wouldn't even work as a browser. And so I started using, they have a gaming browser called Opera GX. Now it's working fine as a browser. I haven't tested it yet in the trade room. It didn't work previously in the trade room either. But just very strange. Sometimes the technology is enough to make you just you pull your hair out. You can't figure things out, even if you're, reasonably technical. I'm a reasonably technical person. I'm not Joe a repairman, but let's set up our ZF this morning. So you're going to right click the chart for our software to activate our software. Click on strategies. Click on JOBB. I want to get rid of everything, start from scratch. JOBBV11. And it is a breakout trade. We're going to trigger the trade at 829.58. We have a bracket of 12 and targets anywhere between, I would say, between 6 and 20 is within reason. Nothing wrong with that. And then if you have a stop is recommended. ZF is 20, ZN is 12. And then I would use the target one stop move feature. That feature, if you hit your first target, then it fills it. It allows you to move your stop automatically in case the trade should change direction. So I usually do that because I like to protect my first target of profit if I hit it. And sometimes, you could get more money if you didn't move your stop, but just as often, it works out where you get a pullback and sometimes it protects your profit. And then I'm going to save the template ZF. I'll just call it CPI. I probably already saved this template when I was testing, so I'm not going to save it again. I'll just go find it. CPI, I have a million of them. And there it is. So I'm sure it's saved. So a bracket of 12, targets of anywhere between 6 and 20. The stop is 20. And in a moment, I'm going to check the width of my brackets, the chart. So I put my charts on Sim. I want my software on Sim. I want to set my time to 0. Just I want to look at the brackets and make sure I can manage the trade the way that I like to manage it. When you enable software with 0 time, it immediately triggers your brackets. And you can get a sense right now the market's pretty quiet. The market is definitely quiet. It's not volatile. It will get volatile, I would think. It will get volatile. I like to label the trades. We'll put our time back to normal, 8:29:58. I like to label the trade. It's a ZF breakout, okay? And I'm trading in my Buell Knox account. And then I'll put my charts on Buell Knox also so that you see your orders. Then also I'm going to set up a secondary trade on micro gold. Now this can be a very difficult trade to trade. So MGC 1224 might be a good opportunity for an after the news trade. That's what I'll be looking for. This is the news here that's expected. Okay. 2.5 on the year over year CPI, 0.2 on the core. Let me make sure I have all my data on here. Give me a second. So I do want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining our stream on YouTube. See, I knew I was missing one important number on the news. So like I said, I do want to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you hit the like button, we would love that. Okay. Core 3.2 on the year over year, and the CPI year over year is 2.5. So what I'm thinking is there is a definite possibility of gold movement after the news comes out. First, let's make sure everybody's clear on the breakout. 829.58. We've got our bracket of 12. Targets anywhere between 6 and 20. The stop is 20. And if you like moving your stop automatically, if your first target gets hit, you can use the target one stop move feature to break even -3. And then make sure you label your trade down under setup, label. Whatever you type there will show up on the control panel on the label, and make sure you choose the account that you're trading in. Okay? And then if you like to test your brackets like I do, I'll go over that one more time. You set the time to 0, the first two numbers, and then make sure your charts are on sim. You don't want to test your brackets with your charts live because you might put yourself in a trade. Then you want to make sure everything matches. You put your chart trader on sim, your software's on sim. Then when you enable it, when there's price movement, you'll see it. Okay, so now we're seeing the brackets. You can click on the X to cancel the setup, and then you go back and just reset up all the things you changed. So 829.58 on the time. Put the software back on the account that you're trading in, set up account, apply it, hit the apply button. Anytime you make a change, the apply button will be active and you can hit it, click it, and it'll make the change on the control panel. And then you re-enable your charts to the correct account and enable your trade. You'll get your logo and you're in business. Yeah, I was looking at ZN. I am going to trade ZF. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that reminder there. So now I got to redo my brackets real quick. ZN and ZF on this report are pretty interchangeable. Just risk is higher because of the tick value on ZN. So also ZF in our testing had a little bit more volatility in the movement and it needed a bigger stop. Okay, so it's looking good. Back to normal. I'll show you what I'm thinking about for possibly a second trade. And this is a tough report because the market gets very volatile after the news. But on gold, so what I was thinking, gold also is pretty tight. The gold market is going to open in a minute. Just keep that in mind. But what I would consider is a reversal continuation trade. And gold's going to move. It could move a lot on this report. So a micro, you could use two instruments and 15 and 40 on the targets. If it hits the first target, I'll move my stop to break even -5. And my stop, I would use a stop at least of 30. And then I'll label that REV, REV, just so I know which strategy that is. And I'll trade that in a different account, in my cash account. When you enable that reversal continuation, you get your instant long, instant short buttons, and that's how you enter a discretionary trade. And so that you have your targets and your ATM is set up, you want to use those buttons, not the chart trader. Okay, last month, so no one is expecting bad news on this report. So we looked at August already. It had a fairly quick ZF move that was possible to get a profit. Gold was a difficult move. Gold is definitely difficult at the exact time of the report. It can whip. Gold on that month looked like it would have been able to get a target one. If you had like a 10 or a 12 target, gold did not trade that badly, it looked like last month. Then if we look at July, but remember the issue is this is a report with raised margin, increased risk and volatility, and no question that we have inconsistency on this report over the years. Some years it was really difficult to even come up with a trade. Sometimes you get pre-movement, significant movement before the news comes out. In July, we did not get filled on our YM. The orders didn't fill, but it did have a good breakout move. July was a breakout for all. That was a breakout for all move. So Why is a breakout for all move good? Hey, David, because it means that um, most instruments that you're going to be trading are going to work. Breakout for all means the euro probably had a good breakout. The NQ, the ES, the YM, many instruments have a good move when it's a breakout for all. Just out of interest, let's go back to January, go further back in time. In January, we had gold and the euro. Okay, so you know I'm telling you the truth. Actually, this was November. Looking at the DMM, we're looking at a video inside a video, inside another video. Okay, so I'm not trying to confuse anybody, but I have so many videos. So this was actually November. We were trading the euro. Look at that crazy whipsaw. That was crazy. That's what we're dealing with potentially sometimes on this report. I don't think it hasn't been quite that volatile lately, but that was quite volatile back in October. All right. That was October. Then if you look at the DMM in January, we had an ES trap trade and bond breakout. One thing that's been fairly consistent is bonds on CPI. Bonds, more often than not, they're going to move. The real question is, are we going to get a nice consistent move? This was January. And ZF had enough time to give us profit, and then it changed direction. And the ES breakout actually looked like it worked in January. It worked in sim. You can't. Oh, sorry, it was a trap trade. So the trap trade in let's see what this was in January. Now we've tried traps, so it goes up, it fills short, and then it shoots down. It was an instant trap trade that worked. Okay, we're going to watch the market. We've got 5 minutes. This is a high risk report, David. Absolutely. These days, it does not have good risk to reward. It's definitely one of those reports that, no one's going to fault you if you don't want to trade it. It's volatile. It's very potentially volatile. Now, we will be back for oil, everyone. There is no bond trade room today, and I have to leave the oil room. I might actually have to leave before the trade. I have an appointment I cannot miss today, and there's just no way around it. Every now and then, I don't think I've missed hardly any trade rooms over 8 years, but every now and then I just have to do something that I can't schedule any other way. So thinking possibly of after the news, gold. We'll see if gold has any kind of trend or any kind of move that looks interesting. You can't really go the levels at this time of the morning normally are tradable, but when the markets are all waiting for important news, the levels are not as valuable as they are on a normal morning when the news is not as significant. This kind of significant news it's best to get it out of the way before you do your normal trading, because it really does appear this morning the markets are waiting for it. Because even the gold open was relatively muted. 820 was the gold open, was right in here, and it was pretty quiet. All right, so we're just patiently waiting for the news. And it is certainly, I think it would be a big surprise if inflation is back up. I don't think anyone expects that in the numbers. My feeling is most probably the numbers are going to be as expected. That's what I'm thinking. We'll see. As expected numbers. As expected or better, which should be good for the market. Our brackets will show up a couple of seconds before the news. $15 right about now. Just patiently waiting. Can feel your heart beating. Gold, a little bit active over there. Here's our bond bracket and a beautiful bond trade. Beautiful bond trade. Very, very nice. Gold looked unsafe to me. I don't think I can trade that gold action right now. I don't know what it's doing. We have to look at the news. Um, zero point 0.3 on the month over month. Little bit, hold on. Year over year is as expected. But is the month over month a tiny bit higher than expected? It looks like it. Okay. That, regardless, it created the move in bonds that was tradable and a winning trade. I'm going to turn off my breakout. Now, as gold calms down, I'm just going to watch it for the moment. But with that kind of whipping around, the uncertainty right now in this gold market, I'm not that interested in a second trade. It's just a little bit too volatile for my taste at the moment. The bond setup was perfect. I want to be honest, everyone. I agonized very, very much over. I didn't want to remove the YM because I know a lot of people enjoy trading the YM. I know that the YM had the potential for hundreds of ticks of movement, but in the testing, it looked like the YM was not safe all the time. Now I'm getting a text. Langford always texts me in the morning and he tells me what happened to him on the YM, and it would have been awesome. So, look, if you traded bonds, you made money. If you traded our setup, you should have made money. Doc made money. Everybody else, if you be kind enough, check in, let us know what you did. We had a very nice bond trade, hit both our targets without doing anything. I went for safety and I went for conservative protection of the account on a report that can be very volatile. Look at the way gold moved. Before we look at the video, let's just put the YM on, see what the chart looks like. So you could see that it looks like, at least from the naked eye, it looks like we might have had a breakout for all today. YM shoots down, ES shoots down, okay? Looks very nice. Now, maybe in the future, instead of looking at gold for the trade after, we'll look at the indexes because they seem to be not as volatile as gold. They'll be a better choice for the second trade. Because look what the ES did. It went down to the low and it really gave an opportunity for a second trade. The NQ was bad, Calvin. The NQ was bad. Now, the NQ is one of the instruments I do not like. I do not like trading the NQ on super volatile news. It's risky. Calvin loves it. Okay, so look at what happened possibly on the NQ. You've got a wick to the upside. So my guess is it went up first. The only way you can tell on a report with this kind of speed is to go to lower time frame charts to see what the movement was at the exact moment. So here's a 1 second chart, and it does look like the first move on the NQ was up, and it had a crazy whipsaw, which the other indexes did not look the same. Okay? Calvin, sorry to hear it. Sorry to hear that. I'd rather it be, I hate to say this, but I'd still rather it be a prop account than cash. I would rather blow up a prop account than blow up my cash account. Cash account means I have to come up with more cash. The prop account means I may have to pay for a reset, but it's nowhere near as much money. So ultimately, I don't want to blow up a good prop account because time gets wasted. That's the biggest issue with prop. Time. Time is money in the truest sense of the word with your prop account. Brian, nice trade after the news. I don't know how you did it with gold this morning. It just looked too volatile to me. I wasn't real comfortable taking it after the trade. Frank made some money. One lot, not a bad trade at all. Greg, looks like everybody that traded with us made money. Very happy to see that. Very happy to see it. Okay. I want to thank everyone on YouTube. I'm going to close down our YouTube stream. Thanks, everybody. Hit that like button. If you want to become a member, there's a link on our YouTube page, and we will be streaming PPI on Thursday. So I'll send an email out and hit the notification bell. Thanks very much for joining with us on YouTube.